Hello, this is John with Theology Ed. I hope you're all doing really well this evening, especially if you're in any area that could be affected by this storm, this Hurricane Milton tonight. Stay safe. If it's even half as bad as they're hyping it up to be, it's going to be a catastrophe. Um, let's hope it's less significant than the hype, but you know, it may not be. So we'll find out when it hits. In the meantime, what I want to talk about is predictive programming in relation to potentially that hurricane and just hurricanes in general in this timeline we're in. Um, I didn't get to pay close attention because I was working at the time, but I overheard at a video playing from Brother Dana's channel, and uh, when I heard of him mention a film called The Ring, and I thought, The Ring? I've never even heard of this. And I looked up this movie and decided to watch it. And when I watched it, I thought, yeah, that's got, I think, a pretty clear predictive programming in relation to an eclipse, and uh, uh, could be indicative of something related to this Hurricane Milton. And so I think it's worth looking into, and I want to throw it out there for people to um, know more about it and do a little analysis here. In the meantime, I just want to show you this. We have the Drudge report today with the hurricane shown here, but it looks like a skull, doesn't it? That was pointed out by a subscriber here on the channel in a comment, and I consider him a friend. He's been around a long time, and either way, he pointed this out, and it looks like a skull. This is a once in a lifetime storm in Tampa, Sarasota, apparently they're saying. And on the Drudge report, interestingly, at least yesterday and most of today, there were pictures that went black and white again. And if you've read my comments on the posts in the community section of my channel, you'll know there's a history of the Drudge report when it goes black and white. The black and white representing death and major change that's not necessarily good and so on. But if you look here, who is in black and white, we have Trump, Musk, Tucker, Musk again, and Diddy, or whatever his name is. So we have basically these right wing, that basically people who are representing the right wing movement right now, the MAGA movement. These people in black and white. I think we're transitioning potentially to the time where we start to see the push in the direction of The Hunt. If you remember that movie, we did a little analysis of it as well. And The Hunt was where the left wing hunts the right wing for sport, and they go out and start killing these basically Republicans and conservatives for sport. And that film was in a line of predictive programming in relation to the films Get Out, Us, so Get Out of the U.S., and the idea was there's a hunt coming with the Civil War and all of that. Well, anyways, so I think we're falling in this. We're entering this timeline where we could start to see after the election, especially, a push in the direction of anti-right wing or anybody associated with conservative movements and ideas. We could see them being attacked, see persecution, and so on. But I'm pointing that out just so you know that's there, the black and white again, in relation to the time of this hurricane. Now, hurricanes are also showing up in other films that are relevant to the current events and current timeline. So if you go to Leave the World Behind, for example, you remember this scene where we get this circle drive turning. Basically, it looks like a key turning. It also looks like the power icon, like this is when they start the events. But if you follow the transition very closely, you see this thing here? That's a barometer, an antique barometer. If you look, this is a barometer, and it's centered on the circle with the line, and it is dropping fast. That indicates the pressure. You're getting atmospheric pressure dropping, okay? What they're showing is that this begins, the events in Leave the World Behind begin, I think, I suggested in a video earlier this year, several months ago, And when I did my first analysis, I mentioned in passing that what we're looking at is the barometer, the pressure, atmospheric pressure dropping, which is indicative of a possible hurricane. So there's a very good reason for the concern. The lower the barometric pressure, the more intense the storm. A falling air pressure generally means there is an approaching storm that will arrive within the next 12 to 24 hours. The farther the barometric pressure drops, the stronger the storm. And so hurricanes all have low pressure, okay, barometric pressure, and it's dropping. And I suggested that that could be indicative of a hurricane, marking the beginning of when we enter this picture. That's the power button that turns on the power of the tangent universe phase, okay, where you go to the unstable tangent universe and leave the world behind. Now we also see, of course, in IPG2 an indication that liberty comes to an end. Underneath what? Hurricane, a spiral storm overhead. Had an eye until just then. And then in Donnie Darko, we have the eye of a storm idea, right? The film starts with thunder. It's the very first sound. And we have the eye opening up, and frequently representations of flooding and storms. Here we see again in this sequence when he's seeing his vision with Frank, the rabbit, he gets the eye, and then he gets with a wave, like a storm surge or something, perhaps. Here we have another example of it where they're doing a countdown, and then all of a sudden the water comes crashing in, and of course, and that's at the end of the film, where you're getting close to the end of the film. We have the spiral cloud over top, and then you have again this spinning spiral cloud that is the where the airplane is going to crash through right here. It's going to bring it down through that storm, and that's the one that brings the end to the United States, because he's going to have Donnie in his room when the engine crashes into the room that night and kills Donnie at the end of the tangent universe. Okay? And so Donnie gets taken out by some event that happens as a result of the storm. Okay, that's like a portal. And at the end of the film, we have this as well, where you get the engine falling through and you get the eye symbolism, right? It's going right through the eye of the storm. Connecting the eye to this idea of a spiral storm, suggesting and strengthening the opinion that there is an application to hurricanes and eclipses with the eye symbolism in Donnie Darko. Now, that gets us to the ring. Now, before you die, you see the ring. Now, that is obviously eclipse symbolism right here. We have probably an annular eclipse being represented, okay, a ring of fire eclipse. And we have, before you die, you see the ring. And in the film, the ring, of course, has more than one meaning. The ring is also the ring of a phone. It's also the ring of light at the top of a well that has a lid on it. And so you're seeing the light coming in from around the edges of the lid, or, in that area where light can creep in the covered well. And so looking up from down inside the well. But that means the well is going to represent an eclipse, and passing through the well would be passing through an eclipse. So let's go ahead and look at the ring. This was released in 2002 on October 18th. You could even, if you're doing the whole numerology type thing, you can look at it as October 9th, 1 of the 8, pointing to the October 9th date we're on right now. It was 115 minutes, and it looks like it was a box office. It was successful. Budget $848 million and $249 million in sales. Great. They made a lot of money on that one, I suppose. So how does it begin? It begins with this girl. Her name is Katie, and she's with her friend Becca. They're having a little conversation about TV and, I don't know, the type of radiation you're exposed to with television and so on. And Becca says, "I've got a better one. Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it?" And that's what the film's going to be about, ultimately. It's going to be about this mysterious videotape that this girl and 3 of her friends, a boyfriend and 2 of their friends, watched at a cabin, and they watched the video, and 7 days later, which is this night that in the scene you're looking at, just a few minutes, at 10 p.m., they all died in different places. And that was after they watched the video together. So you watch the video, you don't know it, but right after the video, you're going to get a phone call that says you got 7 days till you die, because you've seen it, seen the video, and then 7 days later, you die. And in the meantime, weird stuff happens to you between the time you watch the video and when you die. Well, this girl mentions it, and she says a rectangular tape. You rent it, I don't know. You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare. Then suddenly this woman comes on, and so on. And the idea is after 7 days, you die. You get a phone call afterwards. And she gets on a phone call with her mom briefly, and then after that, the TV just turns on to white noise. Suddenly we hear the sound of the soft pop behind her, then white noise. She looks off. Now we know from White Noise, the film, and elsewhere, and we'll see it in this film as well, Donnie Darko has white noise. Remember when Donnie descends, he goes downstairs after the eclipse symbolism in his room. He walks down the stairs and he hears the Star Spangled Banner, but through white noise, like the United States is coming to an end. And finally, it's going to end, and it's just going to be pure white noise. The white noise representing the death of the United States. In the film White Noise, white noise explicitly represents death. They even talk about, what if death just is white noise? And here, in this film, repeatedly, when you get a death scene or someone about to die, you get white noise again, and the static on the TV especially. So they get the white noise. She sees this. She turns the TV off. It comes back on again spontaneously. Does it again. That sort of thing. And supposed to spook you. And then she walks around, goes into her room, and when she opens the room, there's weird stuff. The water in the hallway. See the water. The doorknob's dripping. She opens the door, and then she sees what's going to lead to her death. And it begins with the well, which represents the eclipse. We'll see why later, but the well represents the eclipse. It has a lid on it later in the film, and that's where the light looks like the eclipse from down below. And so this is your eclipse symbolism. And we see later on, too, that this girl who was murdered and left to die in the well, 7 days alive down there, she now is like haunting the world or something. She comes up out of the well and comes out of her TV and kills the person who had seen it. And so it's through the eclipse comes this death. And so she comes up and comes out. She's coming at the girl now. That's why she's startled. And she's scared. Just look at the clock, 10 p.m. That's when the time of death was. She comes in, and then you get the sequence of what she sees right before she dies. She gets the eclipse, and then scenes from the video, including the murdered girl's dad in the window, this string, or whatever, cord, worm, I don't know, being pulled out of the mouth, the burning tree, which represents the time of the night, the autumn leaves in the sunlight looking like fire because it's the orange-red leaves at night could indicate fall. The film, I think, is set in December. We have this ladder, which gets you nowhere, like you can't get out of the well. I think that's the idea. Also, there's a ladder in the film where she goes up to her, which is where she goes up to her living quarters, like a nice room, toys and things, but she can't get to it. Yeah, I think that's hinted there. Fingers, no clue, haven't figured that out yet. First time I watched it was today. But then we have this blood, and then we have this animal eye. In the film, horses are featured, talked about a lot. I don't know if that's supposed to be a horse eye or a rabbit eye or what kind of eye it is, but it's an eye. And then after it's all done, we go straight to death, white noise. And then after that, we see this boy drawing. And what do we get? We have a scene with the spiral winds, it looks like, blowing things around at sea. A boat, water, all that, right? Which I think is interesting. I'm not sure that that's pointing to the hurricane idea, but it is conceivable. Now, you got to remember, the eclipse that we have in mind here is the October 2nd annular eclipse that just happened recently, which is on the dates of the Donnie Darko eclipse. And I talked about that in my previous video. That Donnie Darko event starts October 2nd, and then you have the unstable tangent universe period, out of which you come just before or around the time of election, election time this year. So end of October into early November, and then the election's on November 5th. And so we have this period of leading up to the election in which we're also seeing events in the Middle East escalating. We don't know what's going to happen there, how rapidly that situation will get worse, and that war could expand. And of course, we still have Russia and Ukraine, and we have that domestic situation in the United States where we have political violence on the rise. Biden just the other day saying that he can't be sure this election won't have political violence coming with it. That it'll be a completely peaceful election. We've had 2 alleged attempts on Trump's life, and so on. So this either way, now we're looking at these storms in this timeline. Okay, so we go to the classroom. That's his teacher. The kid's in the room. Was in the room now. She's going to be talking to his mother. The child's name's Aiden. Mom's name is Rachel. She's going to talk about these drawings, and the drawings are of this girl dead down in a hole in the ground. That's because he's getting information from her about her death in the well. And he keeps drawing this in different places, different times. And let's see. He's worried about dying. We don't have enough time. And he gives this hint that this girl who died before told him that she was going to die soon. And that was, started to make his mom think. His mom's a reporter and supposedly very good at doing investigative work, And so she's going to go out and start to investigate here soon. What actually happened? Why did this kid die? 16-year-olds don't die just, for no reason, without health problems and so on. They don't just drop dead. That's not normal. Of course, it's become normal since since we had the pandemic and the subsequent treatment and therapies and so on. But sadly, that's not at the time. This film, they didn't have that. So 16-year-olds don't just keel over dead. So she's asking around friends of the victim, the girl who died, and this kid says it's the tape. And this is the first the woman hears about the tape. So she's gonna go and eventually look into this tape. She sees. I'm not gonna get into all the details here. She sees some weird pictures. The kids after you've seen the tape, your image in cameras and video recordings are blurred and look weird, like you're on your way out dying, something like that. And she finds that all those kids, all 4 of them, died at 10 p.m. On the same day in different places. 2 were in a car accident together. One was, allegedly jumped to his death, I think, and then she died in her home. And so she goes to investigate. I don't know if these numbers are significant. She walks in, and the guy who's the keeper of the inn or whatever, he wants to do a card trick with her. She pulls a 9 of diamonds, and he guesses. He's like, is it this card? Queen of hearts. Is this card? 4 of clubs. Is this card? 7 of spades. I'm not sure if that's significant, so I'm putting it there for people to take a look at if they want to think about that. Either way, she's going to stay in the cabin. She finds out from him that they were in cabin 12, and they watched a video from his rack, and so they are, from his shelves here. And she turns around and looks, and she sees this is the suspicious video, so she's going to grab it and take a look at it and stay in cabin 12 as well. But this video, interestingly, is between America over there, which is about World War I, America and World War I, after Sodom and Gomorrah, World War I, the Looking Glass War, and you can see what other films are there. Shattered, Spontaneous Combustion, and Scent of a Woman, whatever. But I'm just pointing out its position is between a Cold War film and a World War I film after Sodom and Gomorrah, which don't know if there's significance to that. Okay, so she's gonna go to the room. Outside the room is this tree. See how the sunlight passes through the tree, and it sort of looks like it's the tree's on fire. That's what this. That's what that burning tree in the video symbolized. So she puts the film in, and she's gonna watch it too. And it starts with white noise. She's waiting for it to come on, and then it starts after that. When it actually starts showing the film itself, it begins with the eclipse / view from down in the well looking up at the lid. She can't get out, the girl. This is a video effectively representing the girl's experience in this eclipse. And so when you see this, you get 7 days to live, because when she saw the lid covering the well, she knew she only had, well, she didn't know, but she only had 7 days until she would die down there, and the 7 days of torment would be completed. Well, anyways, so she's watching white noise, and we begin with this water flowing. That's what it looks like if we have it in motion. So we're getting water immediately. Then we see this chair. Not sure the significance. Not sure the significance of this. But here is the mother of the girl who was murdered, and she's the one that murdered the girl. She's looking at herself in the mirror at their home, and over here in the mirror we see what? The girl. She's going to be haunting her. That's what's implied in that film. The girl who comes through the eclipse is going to haunt people, including in this case her mother. And we get the dad, and here we see a storm coming in, the wind. It's interesting too, because the tree looks like it's almost blowing this way, but the storm is coming in this way. I'm not sure what the significance of that is, but it's definitely storm symbolism. We have the rope. Here you see the partial eclipse. It's like the eclipse is unfolding. And here, this is interesting, very interesting. Here we get these worms. They're in motion, and they change into people drowning in water. So people perishing in water like worms. Okay, they're almost being represented like this. So here it is in motion. Okay, why isn't it working? Oh, here it is. Okay, see, switches. Okay, worms or whatever, switching into people in water drowning. And so I think again, these are little hints perhaps of a major water event, not sure. And then out of the water comes, from beneath the table in the position of the water, your drinking water, insects. Of course, after storms, one thing that is threatened is the quality of your water and water supply. And so if you have bad drinking water and you don't have that taken care of early after the storm, even if you survive the storm, you can die from that. Okay, and illness is related to the lack of drinkable water. And then we keep going, and we get the animal eye here again after this three-legged animal sort of hops. You'll see what it looks like here. I don't know what kind of animal that is, the way it did that, but and I don't know what the significance of a three-legged animal is there. So if you have ideas, leave a comment on that. I'm curious. The fingers, there's the tree again, and she is being haunted. She is trying to live normal, but she has this girl haunting her. So she is going to go kill herself. We have the upside down chair spinning. That is haunting. The horses, terrified. We find out later the horses were being haunted by the girl as well, and they ran off and were drowning themselves. So here's the mom going to jump and kill herself. And as the eclipse shuts, the ladder drops. Why? Because once that eclipse happens, the girl's trapped in the well. There's no escape anymore. It's as if you have no way out. And so there's like no more, there doesn't exist a ladder to escape. And so she's just trapped and confined until she dies. Okay? And that's how this film goes. Then we go to the well again. And what happened down in the well? Death. And it flipped. switches over into white noise again. Okay, so we get to that. Then we go here and we get this. Okay, so you get your white noise. She's there. If you watch, it's going to zoom in on her eye. We're going to get the eye angle, and then you see the white noise, the reflection of the TV, and the end of the film. Now that's what not the end of the whole movie, but that's the end of the film she watched, which right afterwards she gets the call and says you got 7 days. And then the rest of the film, it's counting the days, how many days they have left. She continues her investigation. She finds out, so again, it finds out it's at some lighthouse, which takes her to some island, which enables her to try to find the family that should know this girl, and so on. The girl's name is Samara. Samara, what was her name? Morgan, I think. Let me see. Yeah, Morgan. Samara Morgan. Her mom, the one that was in the film, that was in the mirror, is here. She's the one that committed suicide in the film. And the little girl's footprints from when she was a baby are on this paper, and the insects are accompanying her there. She's a very evil child, which is why her mom killed her, according to the film. She would never sleep. She didn't sleep at all, and she had ill intentions. She took pleasure in doing harm to people, and so on. So we don't know the details of what she was doing at the time, but it was bad enough that she was almost like a little devil to everybody, and they killed her, which is, of course, terrible sounding, but that's films. It's a horror film, so. And, so she finds this other video in her research, and she sees the girl's never sleeping, always there, awake, never resting. They go, her and her child's father, Noah, who dies, they go up to find this room where the kid was kept. See how there's a ladder to get up? So the child was kept up there at the top of this ladder. Probably they kept her up there and then maybe took the ladder down so that she was trapped, if they were scared of what she would do. Okay, while they're there, they do some research. We get to day 7 when Rachel, the blonde lady, was scheduled to die. And while they're doing their last research, they find the well was actually, they built over the well when they built that cabin 12, where the kids died and where she watched the film, and they tear up the floor and they find the well, and she goes down the well. She falls in the well after she's sort of shoved down by the TV. See the white noise TV shoved down. She falls. Okay, because that girl uses the TV to perpetrate her attacks. She goes down, doesn't die. It's really, really deep, but she lands in water, survives all that. And when she's down, the ghost of the girl or something, like grabs her in the arm and reveals things to her and shows her the past and how she was killed, and makes the blonde girl sort of pity her. Okay, and they think they ended the film. You almost feel like you ended the film at this point, because the girl, was sort of listened to and heard, and her plight was taken seriously, and the blonde girl was, felt sorry for her and all of that, and they were going to get her properly buried and taken care of, and so on. And so they feel like, oh, good, it's all better. But they don't realize the girl's, a monster, moral monster, and her ghost is not going to stop haunting just because somebody did, quote unquote, good to her. And so we get while they think it's over, these two are going to reconcile and maybe get together again. Interestingly, the room is 601. I think if you flip that over, it's 10-9. That's like today. And if you, right after this scene, when they leave, we go from the 10-9 or the 601 to water falling on her, and then they show the storm-like shape of the water spiraling down the drain. I don't know if you're supposed to flip this. If I were to flip that over and flip the scene over here, we'd have like a storm bringing water down. I don't know. But it could be pointing to the 10-9 date with the hurricane. Now, that's interesting, I think, also because that's 7 days after the October 2nd eclipse. And the film is about the eclipse, followed by 7 days later, that's when you die. And so we could have a 10-9 hurricane pointed at right here, because this is a direct sequence from here to there, all in just a few seconds. Okay, and we stay here long enough that you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to notice this. Okay, this scene probably lasts, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. I don't remember, but it's long enough that it's hard to not notice if you're paying attention. And then we have the rain or the shower and the storm-like spiral into a fade out. Okay, but instead of everything going well, the girl comes up out of the well again on TV and hops out of the TV, crawls over to him, and then like jumps over to him in some way that's scary and kills Noah. And here's how the sequence goes. So when she comes to kill him, and we go to white noise again. See the death? Death is associated with white noise. Boom, attack, white noise. Okay. They don't end up getting killed, even though they both watched the film. And the reason is that she made a copy of the video. And so she had him make a copy of the video too. And by making a copy of the video and distributing it, even if it kills other people, you save your life, because she wants to be heard, the girl. And she wants other people to die. So by making a copy of the video, you are sort of helping her cause, and so you get to live. And so they decide to compromise in that way to survive. And then the film has a few little fast shots, and we get that animal eye again before a black screen, and it's over. So I don't know what this animal eye significance is, but it does seem to be significant. However, just to point this out, the fact that we have a 10-9 a 10-9 hurricane, that's a major event coming during this Donnie Darko period, at the same time as we get we're entering our leave the world behind period leading up to the election. All of this stuff is timed just about perfectly, and also 7 days after the October 2nd eclipse, when the film is about dying 7 days after seeing the ring, and has various symbolism, various ways of representing perhaps people drowning in mass in a storm, this sort of thing. I think it's worth looking at. Now, of course, these hurricanes don't always, and I should mention this, but I think hurricanes are can be controlled by weather modification. I don't think this is just like, magic coincidence or something. I think this is planned. And so I want to mention that because I know people ask that question. You think they control the hurricanes? Yeah, I do. But I think what they're doing is hurricanes often are used by them in association with other actions. So if they want to start the war or advance the war in the Middle East or in Russia or somewhere like that, so often they have hurricanes. And I don't know what they think they're doing, quote unquote, magically in their minds, because science and magic for them are like one thing. When they think they're accomplishing that, I don't know what is happening, but it is also possible that the hurricane itself is simply going to happen at the same time as or alongside some other major events that lead up to the crises that we're heading into at this point. But I think there's enough pieces here that it's very plausible that this October 9th hurricane that we're seeing right now, 7 days after the October 2nd annular eclipse, which could be the Donnie Darko eclipse, which seems to be, this isn't a coincidence. This is part of their big plan. It could lead to a lot of death, hopefully not. And even if it doesn't lead to a lot of death directly, it could be associated with other events in the world that they're trying to carry out. Maybe this is something they think gives them a greater chance of effectiveness in their other efforts in the wars or power or whatever. I don't know how these occultists think, but I know it's not the way I think. So, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and take care. Blessings, everybody.